Hello and welcome to Box Talk. Today for our Box Talk, we have a special edition Box Talk. We have an interview. I'm going to interview Greg Milligan. Yesterday, which was February 1st, 2017, Greg hit 35 years at Volk Packaging. So first of all, congratulations, Greg.
Thank you.
So let's start with 35 years at Volk Packaging. What does that mean to you?
Boy, I tell you, I never thought, it didn't even think about it, and it's gone by so fast. When I first came to Volk Packaging back in February 1st, 1982, we didn't only had two salesmen, myself and a guy in New Hampshire, that were both hired the same day. We had a sales manager and a general manager and vice president of sales, but we don't only had two salesmen. And at the time I came, I had everything from Biddeford North in the state of Maine, which was quite a few accounts. But back in those days, we were a little over a $3 million company. We just continued to grow and grow, brought in more and more business, and as we did, we brought more salesmen on to Volk Packaging to help cover those accounts that I had brought in. Till finally, I ended up here in southern Maine, and we grew up to the 10 salesmen we are today. Company's changed a lot,
In what
over
way?
those past 35 years.
In what ways can you?
Well, in a lot of ways, we're a much bigger company, obviously, in machinery. We still had the same rotary die cutter we had when I came to Volk Packaging, and one of the same flexos, although they've been rebuilt about 12 times to keep up with the wearing of the machinery. Things, the territory has changed. The biggest thing you see out there is all the manufacturing that we've lost in the state of the Maine over the last 35 years to Mexico and overseas, and it's a shame because those people lost their jobs, out of work, and nothing replaced them. The only thing that replaced them was retail, which we know does not pay as well as manufacturing business. And recently, I went down a list of customers that used to be out here in the state of Maine manufacturing that no longer are. And
That was quite a list.
it was quite a list of customers, and it's sad to see all of those gone because it affected people's lives here in the state.
On that same note, we also put a list together of companies that were once owned in Maine that are no longer owned in Maine. And what I was using that for in my presentation that I did was how that's changed the dynamic of our business. We used to have relationships with owners. We used to take owners and people out for golf. And now, for example, you have one customer where you used to drive 10 miles to meet with them, and now you have to fly to New York City to meet with the decision maker. Things have changed a lot in that way too.
They certainly have, and it's really been hard on the corrugated box salesman in this state. Is that when I first started, automatically going in the door, the customers would give you 10% more than the competition just because you were a Maine company. They were very loyal to other people in the Maine because they were struggling up here in the state of Maine to survive also. We're at the end of the food chain up here, and they wanted to keep the business in Maine. Now, because they're having the same pressures we are, is that margins have shrunk, your competition is hurting them. Just to stay alive, they're not willing to give you a whole lot extra. They'll give you some because of the service that we provide them. But they're in as tough a situation as we are up in Maine, is that we need to support each other.
What is your first memory of coming to Volk Packaging?
First memory. Not knowing really what to do out there. Fortunately, we had a really good sales manager at the time that taught me what I should be doing as far as approaching customers and how they were expected to. We were expected to respond to them. But one of my first memories that I had is that the sales manager and the vice president of sales at the time gave me a list of 30 accounts that they wanted me to go call on the territory that they knew were buying boxes. And I think they were really surprised because I think I went out and within a month or two had closed like 26 of the 30 and brought those 26 accounts into Volk Packaging. That's when I knew that I could be successful out here. Before then, I wasn't too sure, but it showed me that I could go out and promote Volk Packaging as a company they should be doing business with and close that business.
You've seen a lot of sales reps come and go over the years here at Volk Packaging. Lots have you've seen that have stayed and been here many, many years, but you've also seen and been a part of some that had to leave because you were sales manager for a number of years, and so you had the pleasure of helping me see some people out the door. What does it take to make it in sales at Volk Packaging?
There are a number of things that go into making up a good salesman. One of them, he has to be competitive. He has to be willing to go out and win, because you're going to get a lot of no's before you get any yeses. And they have to be, 100% dedicated to this company. They have to be out selling this company as the one that people should be doing business with. And the ones that weren't competitive weren't able to do that. But in addition, a lot of them stopped working. They go out there in the beginning and they put in the effort and they don't have the successes that they should. And then over time, they stop making those calls that they need to make. They stop seeing the customers. And those are the ones that fall by the wayside. And Derek, you and I, we both said a long time ago, no quotes, no samples, no job. And you can tell the guy who's doing some redesign work for a customer or quoting the business, we know he's out there working and making the contacts. And you're not going to sell everybody in this world, and we're not a good fit for everybody. We have to find out where we are a good fit, where we are not a good fit, and then sell ourselves to them. And that's what you really need to do to be successful in this business.
How, since your phone's ringing there, how has technology changed your business as being a sales rep?
Tremendously. Before, I used to be out on the road. I'd call in twice a day from what's called a warm phone somewhere, and that was the secret back then.
You had to know which hotels had the good phones.
Which hotels had the good warm phones?
Yeah.
And that's how we communicated, and that wasn't always the easiest thing to do, but you called in twice a day, but you're pretty much out of touch with customers most of the day because of that. But now, I couldn't function without an iPad and a phone. These customers expect you to respond almost immediately to their requests, and they know how to get a hold of me. They're welcome to call me anytime, day or night, which they do, and that it's just opened a whole new world. I do spend most of my day, quite frankly, now on the iPad or the phone rather than a face-to-face meeting.
And do you like that, or would you prefer
it's
to be
efficient.
back?
It isn't what I like to do. I'd like to not answer any of the emails because that's not the type of guy I am. I like to go in face-to-face, see people, be their problem solver, because that's what you need to be in the corrugated box world, is a problem solver. If they've got a problem with their packaging, you need to help them out. And they know they can call on me to do that. Sometimes I can solve that over the phone or through an email, but if not, I have no problem, and I'm glad to go see them face to face.
So 35 years, so you sold in the 80s, the 90s, the zeros, I guess they call it, and now you've got almost another decade of sales. What was the most challenging time here?
I think the most challenging time was when we didn't own the board mill down in Massachusetts. And we, at one time, were buying the corrugated board out on the open market. And we did business with all kinds of different companies down in Massachusetts and up here in Maine, IP. At the time, Weyerhaeuser was in existence in Westbrook. They're gone now. Union Camp up in Auburn was one. And we bought our board from PCA and Bates and Alden. Some of those companies are gone now, and it really was a challenge to get board in here quickly enough to satisfy the customer's needs at a price that we could be competitive out here. But now that we have our own facility for making corrugated board down in Northborough, Massachusetts, it opened up a whole new world. We now could be our own supplier, and it has really saved this company and some of the other partners down in Massachusetts and Connecticut, and given them a constant source of the best quality board out here.
If you were to hire someone, if you were to someone were to walk in right now and they had no experience and were going to take over your territory or take over a sales territory, what would you say are the three most important things that they have to know and do to be successful and make it 35 years in this business?
We've gone a couple of different routes with hiring people. I don't like younger salesmen because they're still looking around, trying to find their way. They haven't been kicked around and think the grass is always greener, especially the millennials. They don't seem to have a lot of loyalty to the company the way I do and the way some of our other salesmen do. So if you get someone who's had some successes but is really looking for a home, he's usually a little bit older. He's in his 30s or 40s, and looking for a home, looking for a place to stay. Next thing, I'd look for somebody who's persevere when things get tough, because this is not an easy job. Not everybody can do this job, and we've had a lot of different salesmen go through here that have been in that boat. They have to be detail-oriented, very organized, and competitive, but they have to, most of all, be dedicated to taking care of the customers and being there whenever a customer needs them. And those are some of the more important things. And we're very fortunate in that we have 10 salesmen right now that all fit that mold, that are not going anywhere. Derek, your only problem is we're all getting older.
I know, stop getting so old.
And I can't. That's something I can't start. But I'd do another 35 if I could, but I can't.
So you're not in that. So 12% of our workforce has spent half their life at Volk Packaging. You're not quite there.
Yeah.
But you might be by the time you retire. It's gonna be close.
If I don't expire first.
No, that's not an option. So, Greg, looking back 35 years, how would you describe your career at Volk Packaging?
I couldn't have asked for a better place to spend the last 35 years. The Volk family has stood behind me every step of the way, and that means the world to a salesman out here, is that they know they have the support of the owners of the company. And the Ben Volk, I was fortunate to spend some time on the road with a man who founded the company, Benjamin Volk, and his motto is, "Our customers are our bread and butter." Absolutely as true today as it was 35 years ago. It's always been good out here on the road. Sometimes you're out there all by yourself. Almost every day you're out by yourself, and so you got to be able to work independently. But I enjoyed that, and I've developed relationships with my customers over the last 35 years that I hope will continue after I've retired. So it's been a great career. I couldn't have asked for a better place to spend the last 35 years as an employee.
What do you remember about Ben Volk? Ben
was such a nice, quiet man. He didn't seem to have a real temper. He was very dedicated to his company, and he really loved the company and loved taking care of the customers. That's what Ben was all about, And because of that, the profit and the money he would make later would come because of that. And I spent many days on the road with him up in northern Maine, and it was a long drive, but I really enjoyed his company.
And you worked a number of years for Ken Volk as well.
I did. Kenny did get Ben's the temper, but I mean, Ken was under a lot of pressure in those days, and that our overhead was high, profits were not as high as they could have been, and he was under a lot of pressure to make this go. He had his whole life on the line with this company, and fortunately, now he's in a situation where he's retired, and partly because of the work of myself and some of the other people here at Volk Packaging, is that we're dedicated to make this company the best corrugated company we possibly can.
So 10, 12 years down the line, when someone else is calling on your customers and your name comes up, what do you want your sales rep, what do you want your customers to say?
He did a good job for the company. I do want to put a plug for you in here, and I tell customers this also. The best thing that happened to Volk Packaging is when you came into this business.
Oh, thank you.
Before then, I didn't even know how to turn on a computer in 1998. And I mean, if you hadn't come in, your dad wasn't exactly computer literate. He's still operating off of calendars that he writes on when he comes up to visit. But we needed you in the company at that point to bring this company forward to this point. And thank you for all your support. You know, the sales department was very lucky to have that happen, and we really needed that to happen to move the company forward.
Thank you. I appreciate that. So what do you want your customers to say about you?
Goodbye.
I hope he's having fun in Florida.
It was nice while it lasted. I don't know.
He had a nice head of hair.
I have a lot of customers that I just tell them that I did a good job for them. That's really all that I care about. I don't have much of an ego when it comes to that because I know I did a good job for them.
That's great. Greg, thank you for your 35 years of service. It really is something special that we have so many people here that have spent so much of their lives working here. I was 12 when you started working here. So
I remember.
I was younger than my youngest kid, who Serena just turned 13. So I was younger than my youngest kid when you first started working here. And it's just been a pleasure to work with you for all these years. And of course, you and I worked very closely when you were sales manager. We worked much closer than we do now that you're back on the road. I knew we were working close when I was in the bathroom and you came into the bath stall next to me, and I thought, oh man, I'm spending way too much time with Greg because I can tell it's him by his breathing. And I could tell it was you just by your breathing. I was like, I'm spending way too much time with this guy. But
I didn't know that, but yeah. You might have been very right.
But it's been a pleasure. I've really enjoyed working with you. I've learned a lot from you as well, and I think all the sales reps have. And when you do decide to retire and ride off into the sunset, we wish you all the best, and we're going to miss you a lot.
Thank you.
And thanks a lot for listening to this special edition of Box Talk with Greg Milligan.